Well, Kate, thank you for having this interview with BookBrowse today. We are so happy to just get a chance to talk to you directly. We know that our readers, our BookBrowse members, are really excited about your new book, The Forgotten Book Club.
Yes, I'm
And
very glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
you're welcome. So let's just dive right in. It's such an interesting premise. A silent book club. Where did that idea come from?
Um, I remember seeing quite a lot about silent book clubs during COVID because people weren't able to get together in their usual book clubs, and they wanted to still have that sort of community experience. And so the book clubs online continued, but I also saw that some people were holding silent book clubs online, and I was thinking, oh my goodness, okay, reading is something that we usually do on our own, but I personally was a member of a book club, and I ended up leaving that book club because I didn't have the time to read the books in the timescale that I was given, and also because the more I was writing, the less time I had to read, and I wanted to read things that I chosen myself, which sounds, I don't know, maybe dismissive of what other people were choosing, but you've got to choose how to spend your time, right? And I wanted to choose my own books, but I also wanted to be amongst other readers. And so when all of these things came together, I thought, wouldn't it be wonderful if you got to read with other people and you chose the book yourself and you were still part of the reading community, but under much sort of looser terms. And then I thought, because at the same time, my family, you probably worked this out, actually, I think readers probably worked this out, members of my family were going through ADHD diagnosis. And I thought, because of certain social anxieties that a lot of people have, wouldn't that be wonderful if there was a social environment that included reading, but without time constraints, without the necessity to speak if you didn't want to? You could still be part of a group, a part of a community. And so all of these ideas sort of coagulated in my brain and came out as the Forgotten Book Club.
Wow, that's fascinating. Now, have you ever like witnessed a silent book club or gone to one yourself?
I
Or
haven't actually, but I would love to. And one wonderful thing that's happened here in the UK is that somebody who read the Forgotten Book Club has started their own silent book club it's in Milton Keynes, and it was just so wonderful to see that, you know, somebody has started a community of their own, and it's going strong, and it's just been an amazing thing to see. And I do hope that one day, when time allows, I will go up and join them with some silent reading and a discussion afterwards if they fancy it.
wow, I want to find one now over here in the States. That sounds, yeah, that's right up my alley. Um, that's got to feel really good knowing that someone just
Yeah,
took that idea.
really did. And also because she messages me now and again with how the group's getting on, it feels, it's a real community. They really enjoy it. They've got regular people. They go to a regular cafe, and so yeah, it feels very special indeed.
Oh, wow, that's fantastic. Well, you already touched on them. It's going to be my next question was there's some really serious, kind of some pretty serious issues in the book. ADHD, depression, grief. Um, so obviously, I think from your own personal standpoint with family members, you had a personal reason maybe to write these about these issues. Can you elaborate a little bit more on how you incorporated those themes in?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the theme of grief is universal, isn't it? It's very, very unusual for somebody to not have experienced grief at some point in their life, and the isolation that comes with feeling a loss of that magnitude, like Grace felt when she lost Frank. It was something I wanted to explore. I have elderly parents. My husband lost his parents recently, and
Mhm.
so that is something that I wanted to explore in the book. And I wanted to, I think, show that grief is something that you learn to live alongside, and that their friendship and community can help. And it doesn't mean you have to forget the person in order to live a happy life
Mhm.
after loss. And so that is something that I wanted to explore. The ADHD element, as I say, it was something that I suppose, really wanted to get the information. I'd learned a lot. I wanted to share that information. I know that some readers have found that there's a bit too much ADHD in there. And
Mm.
sometimes I feel like, oh, I really should have toned it down a little bit. But here in the UK, especially, I think maybe in the US, it is a better known condition. In
Mm.
the UK, I don't feel that that's the case. And so I wanted to put out there some of the information that I'd learned, especially about the inattentive subtype of ADHD. And every time I think, oh, you overdid it, you overdid that bit, um, I get another review or another message from someone saying, I didn't know this, and now my life makes sense, or my family's life makes more sense, or I'm more sympathetic to my friend. Now I understand more about it. So I sort of feel like I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. I know there's a lot in there, but I think I like to learn something new when I'm reading. And I know a lot of my readers have found out a lot more about ADHD. And as far as I'm concerned, the more we know, the more tolerant in society we become, the more, the better we understand people. So that's why I put it in there. And also, I seem to be trying to justify it, because I suppose there has been some criticism, but that's fine too. That's fine too. Not everybody is going to like every element of every book.
Right, correct. Well, I'm curious too, since you talked about how you were incorporating a lot of the research that you've done into ADHD. Can you talk about like what kind of research did you rely on?
Well, I was an English teacher many, many years ago, and even when I was teacher training, we didn't do a great deal of training on ADHD. And as far as I was aware, now this is a long time ago, I'm sure things have improved significantly. But as far as I was concerned, ADHD was a condition where kids were hyperactive and disruptive. And that does not describe any of my family members at all. If anything, they are sort of quiet and reflective and anxious, and all of the things that come with the inattentive subtype. So I went on a very steep learning curve when my daughter was diagnosed, and we
Mm.
realised that processing issues do not mean that you have a lower IQ. I mean, but I humble brag, my daughter got a first at university, just
Wow.
like Jude in the book, because she is a very intelligent woman.
Mhm.
But we didn't know that when she was younger and she was struggling at school. We didn't know that it was due to ADHD. And so when we realized that, we could look at different ways that she learned in different ways. She's a very visual learner, and she went on to do creative subjects, which really suited her learning style and her skills. And so I wanted to put some of that across in the book.
It's fantastic. Now, so your characters are all very different in the novel, and so I can see where maybe some of where your inspiration for these characters came from. But could you talk a little bit more about how you came to create these characters, and what you wanted to say through these characters?
Yes, absolutely. First of all, I just find it really good fun writing slightly different, more quirky characters.
Mhm.
And my Kate Storey books allow for that. They're all about communities who are quite diverse and multi-generational. I love writing older characters mixing with younger characters, because that's how life works. That's how families work. that's how communities work. I like them to be a little bit different and have interesting backstories. So we've got Crush, who was a member of a rock band, but she's now a bookseller and a bookshop owner. We've got Harry, who was in the military, and he has got his cat that he carries around in his bag over his shoulder, because who wouldn't want to take Ernest everywhere with them? And I like the fact that they're all a little bit quirky. I loved writing Rosie, who's Grace's daughter. She's a woman without a filter, really. She lives life enthusiastically and creatively, and she was really good fun to write. So really, the characters develop during the story. I decide that I want somebody who is, for example, Annie. I needed Annie to be a really, really, really good friend. I needed her to be warm, but I didn't want her to be just sort of, I don't know, like really vanilla. I wanted her to have a little bit of character about her. And she needed to be really tall, because I knew Grace was little. I don't know why, but I needed this disparity. And because I write it quite visually, so I see everything playing out as I'm writing it. And so so when I see the characters, that they exist in my head fully formed, I can see them acting and reacting to each other. So I suppose I'm writing what I'm visualizing, and I don't necessarily know where they come from, apart from I want them all to be a little bit different. I want them to be different genders. I want them to have different socioeconomic backgrounds. I want them to be from different races. And I want to show how, when we all come together, our humanity connects us more than our differences disconnect us. That's very, very important to me when I'm writing about these different characters within one community.
And did any, because you speak about the you say the characters come like kind of fully formed in your mind, but as you're writing, do your characters take on a life of their own? Did they do anything that surprised you?
Oh man, yeah, they do not behave. You can be going in one direction, and then your character will just decide to do something really silly, and
Mhm.
it's really weird that happens. I mean, I actually write in different genres, and I remember when I was writing psychological thriller ones, two of my characters did something so despicable it made me gasp, and I didn't know they were going to do it until it appeared from my fingers, and that's the absolute truth. I had no idea they were going to behave so very badly. Um, there is sometimes a flow that comes out of your fingers onto the keyboard without passing through your brain first. So yes, the characters don't always do as they're told, which is really weird. I get that's really weird, but it's true.
It is, and because I've interviewed a lot of authors, and this is something that comes up over and over, and I'm just trying to understand the psychology of it. How is it that a fictional character that you're writing can just go completely to the other extreme, and you're surprised by it? It's just like you said, it must be just like this obstructed flow
Yeah.
that is so
Yeah, something
creative.
in your subconscious is moving things forward without requesting permission beforehand.
And sometimes that's just the best fiction right there. It comes from those moments, I think, where it's just the subconscious is like, I'm gonna do something really crazy here.
Yeah, it must be. It must be. There's more going on in the brain than we know, isn't there?
Yes, absolutely. Well, did you have any, did it how long did it take to write the book? Did you have any moments where you kind of like, I'm not sure where to go, or any kind of,
I'm
roadblocks
very
while you
much a planner, Peggy. I am such a planner. I know that a lot of authors find it quite limiting, but I don't. I would be too scared to start if I didn't know where it was going. So I tend to use an outline that is based on Save the Cat Writes a Novel, which makes it sound quite formulaic, although it isn't. It's actually based on how human beings understand stories. So the aim is to give the reader a satisfactory reading experience. And in order to do that in commercial fiction, it's different for literary fiction and experimental fiction, but in commercial fiction, we do expect an inciting incident to happen within the first sort of 10% of the novel. We do expect something significant to happen at the midpoint. And we do want a really nice event to change things at around 80%, which again sounds formulaic, but every novel is different. And so I like to have these particular points plotted out before I begin. So when I've got it all sorted and I know where the plot is going, then I do tend to sit down and write about 2,000 words a day. And I'm very fortunate that I do tend to write quite quickly. Having been an English teacher, I tend to write quite cleanly as too. My editors like that. I'm fast and I'm clean. And so then when I get to near the end, I type more quickly because I'm getting excited. I get to that point where it feels like cycling downhill. It's all getting very exciting. It's all sort of positive, and the denouement's coming, and you know where it's going. And so sometimes I write 3,000 to 4,000 words a day at those points. Wow. And so yes, and also my children are older. I don't need to be around sort of to do clubs and things at the weekends, so I can still work at weekends if I'm in the flow. So actually I can get a first draft down in, say, a couple of months, but before that I will know exactly where I'm going with it.
Wow, I wish I could be that organized.
I am quite organized. It probably comes, via anxiety. I've got to know where I'm going. In fact, the Last Page Cafe, the next Kate Storey book, does deal with a woman of my age who likes to know the endings before she starts.
Wow. Well, that is a perfect. Yes. Well, that's kind of a perfect segue, because that's your next book coming out in March, I believe.
Yes, so in the UK, that will be out in March. In fact, it will be still available, I think, online and in audiobook as well in the US earlier. I'm not absolutely sure how it works. But the Last Page Cafe is definitely out in March. I do know that.
Okay. Do you want to talk a little bit about that, like what the plot is for that?
Yes, so we have Erin McRae, who something happened in her past that sort of derailed the way that she thought her life was going to go. And now she's 54 and she runs a cafe in Blackheath in London. And she inherited the cafe from her mum. And it's got a great big wall of books, and she's a massive book lover, and the cafe is her mum's legacy, and it means a great deal to her. She runs a book club, a more traditional book club at this cafe, but the one thing that's not traditional about it is that they choose their next book by reading the last page first, because Erin believes that if the last page is satisfying, then the rest of the book will be worth the journey to get there. And then something happens that disrupts this really comfortable book club that she has. And then all of the members of the book club start to think about what they would write in their ideal last pages. And so the story goes.
Wow. I love this theme of book clubs and book cafes. Is this something you've written about before, or do you like this?
It is an English teacher's dream, is what this is. Yes, so that will be my third Kate Storey book, but there will be some more, I'm very happy to say. And the books are essentially books about family, friendship, community, and the healing power of stories. So I'm really fortunate that I get to add in lots of my favorite books to these stories, and the books have got to serve the story. They're not just there sort of to, because I like putting books in books, but it's an absolute joy to be able to put some of my very favorite all-time books in there. And as we go forward, I'm having to choose them a little bit more carefully. I've got all the ones that sprang to mind immediately in the memory library, the first book, and then my next lot in the Forgotten Book Club, and then even more in the next one. So, and also something that's absolutely wonderful is that lots of readers have made lists of the books that are in these books about books, and so they're using them as a reading list to choose other books to read as well. So that's really cool.
Oh, wow. You're kind of leading the way and suggesting more books for people to read. So you mentioned that family, loyalty, those type of themes. You've written about, but you said you've also written thrillers. So do you want to talk about just the wide range of your books and the pen names that you work under?
Yes. So I start with Naomi Williams, who is that's my thriller name. Now I've only got one out so far as Naomi Williams, and that is The Woman in Ward 9. The Eyewitness is coming out in 2026. And they are really dark. They are. So The Woman in Ward 9 is set in a secure psychiatric unit. So Laura has been found covered in blood that is not her own. And Emma, a psychologist, has got to find out whether Laura is a victim, a witness, or a killer, because Laura can't remember what happened. So that is very different to my super cheerful Kate Storey books. So I am very, very fortunate to be able to sort of twist one head off and put another one on. But also somewhere in between that is Lisa Timoney, which is my real name. And I write family dramas as Lisa Timoney, and those all deal with emotional family drama with a central dilemma at their core. So we have The Daughter She Gave Away. That one is out now. And in January, The Lies Our Children Tell comes out. So yes, I write under 3 names, 3 genres, 3 publishers. And yeah, I write a lot of books. Good job I write quite quickly, isn't it?
Yes, I was just going to say, how many books do you write or in a year typically?
4.
Wow.
Yeah.
I was not expecting that answer.
Yeah. I have, the last 2 years I have written 4 books a year. Whether I'll continue to do that or not, I don't know. I mean, I didn't get published until I was 52. And so I thought, do you know what? I'm going to take every opportunity that I have. And also I have 2 daughters, and I feel like it's a good example to them to see mum, not giving up and thinking, oh, I've got old now. No, mum's decided on a new career and is working very hard to make a success of it. So yeah, I'm really fortunate to have these opportunities, and I'm doing everything I can to maximize them.
I love that. That just speaks to me personally. I'm 53, and I came to this sideline that I do, which is my YouTube channel, and I'm a big history reader, but I'm also a freelance book reviewer, and I do a lot of editorial work, and I do a lot of freelance book reviewing, and I love it. And I've just increased the amount of work I do, and it's just like, who says that life begins in your 50s?
I am not ready to slow down. As I said, I've been to an afternoon disco this afternoon and then
I
come back
love
and do
that.
an interview. We are not slow. 53 is nothing, is it?
It's nothing. We
We've
got this.
decided that.
Well, I'd like to really touch on the pen names again, because Because you write 4 books a year, did you find that the creation of pen names allowed you a little more freedom, like a separation, so that people weren't always attaching one name to a wide variety of genres? Or how did you,
It
what
was
was your
more to do with
purpose?
the publishers, to be honest,
Okay,
because the last thing any author wants to do is disappoint the readers. And so anybody reading a Kate Storey book, which is, you know, the aim is to be uplifting, to come away from that book feeling hopeful and inspired. Um, if I was writing the dark psychological thrillers under Kate Storey, if a reader picked that up and was expecting more of the same, there's a good chance they're going to be disappointed.
right.
And so that's why I agreed with my publishers that I would use different names. In fact, Naomi Williams was my name before I was adopted. So that was the first name I ever had.
Okay.
So that's why I chose that one. Kate Storey, we just thought was a good name for
Oh,
somebody who writes books about books. That's why
oh,
we chose that one.
that's
Um,
perfect.
but it's about the reader experience. But I also agreed with my publishers that I didn't want to come out as a debut again, because I didn't want, or you know, you also don't want to tell lies to readers.
Mhm.
So all my socials are Lisa Timoney, Kate Storey, Naomi Williams, all on one. It's not even an open secret. It's not a secret. I'm a writer who writes under 3 names for 3 different publishers.
Mhm.
And also I've been very fortunate in that readers have thought, well, I like her style of writing, maybe I would like this. And so it does seem to cross-pollinate, actually. People readers are readers. They don't just read one genre, do they? So they might choose one of my books from another genre with another name, but at least they know what they're getting because it is under a different name.
Right, right. And when did you publish your first book, and what was that experience like for you?
That was it wasn't that long ago. It was 2022, and the experience was extraordinary because it all happened very fast. So I've been writing for a long time, because it takes quite a long time to learn how to write a book. Because I thought, because I've always been a reader, I studied literature, I taught literature, surely I would know how to write a book. I did not. I wrote some terrible books before I learned how to actually structure, you know, in the way that I was talking about before. So hopefully I got better. And then I was sending out to agents, sending my work out, and didn't get anything. Then I had COVID very badly, and I got long COVID, and I was very, very exhausted. And I sent out a tweet pitch one day when I was feeling really, really sorry for myself, because an editor was looking for family dramas, which is what I'd written at that point. And they didn't even reply. So I thought, oh, I really am as rubbish as I think I am.
Mm.
But then that evening, I got an email from a different publisher who had seen my tweet, had waited to see whether the other editor picked it up. They didn't. So then she emailed me and said, I really liked your pitch. Could you send the book to me? And that led to a 3-book deal. And then all of those books came out, because 2 of them were already written.
Mhm.
And then they commissioned a 3rd. So they all came out sort of within a year, and it all went bonkers. And then I thought, you know, I'd really like to write books about books and something really cheerful. And then I said to my agent, I'd really like to write a thriller. And she said, you can't write all the books, Lisa. And I was like, watch me. And then afterwards, she has stopped telling me not to write all the books. Now she's like, do you think maybe you could like do 3 of those a year?
Uh,
So yes, so in a very short period of time, things took off, and that's why I was saying, you know, I'm really trying to maximize these experiences, because
mm.
I'm having the best time.
I bet you are. Now, are you writing? So you're writing full time, right?
Oh yes.
So what were you doing before? I'm curious.
I was I'd been helping my husband with his business. Prior to that, I had some kids. They're quite hard work, aren't they?
Yeah.
Prior to that, I had a drama school, which I ran for about 8 years. And prior to that, I was an English and drama teacher. So we've always had sort of portfolio careers, my husband and I. We haven't stuck with one thing forever and ever, because I kind of think if something's not working, you pivot and you change and you adapt. And you keep a flexible mind and keep going, keep moving.
I love that. I love that. Since you're writing 4 books a year, I would imagine, okay, this is different. As a reader, I tend to read many books at once, okay? But I imagine writing, how do you keep all of those storylines and those arcs in their own compartments so that it's not bleeding over into each other?
That's a good question. It's not as easy as it might be. I tend to always write a first draft. I try to make sure I write that to the end. So I schedule and my editors know what I'm working on and when, and then they will always very kindly say, will you be able to do a structural edit for this in this time frame? And then I will look at that time frame and decide when I will stop working on one, and then I will do the structural edit. So I wouldn't do one in the morning and one in the afternoon. That would be too messy in my head.
Mhm.
So I like to get one project finished, hopefully a draft fully formed, and then I will stop and do an edit. That's not always possible, but that is the way I prefer to work. And what I will do is, for example, if I am writing a draft, I can proofread in the evening. So I would finish work, for example, at 4 on the draft, and then I would proofread for a couple of hours. That I can do,
Mhm.
because they're all different parts of the brain. Editing is so different to writing. Writing is more of a flow state. Editing is like it's problem solving, which is a completely different process.
Mhm.
So I prefer to have blocks of time, if I can manage it, to do each section.
That seems like that makes more sense in my mind. I was thinking that you're writing 4 different things at once, but no, you're kind of
Absolutely not.
first
No,
draft and
no.
then
And I do, thankfully, all my editors are fully aware that I will be committing a 3-month block to that project. And they're all quite at that. And then they will say, would you be able to deliver on this date? And then we will talk about what. So no, it's everybody is working together to make this work.
to make it all work.
Yeah, slot it all into everybody's times. Yes.
Yes. And remind us, who is your publisher right now?
So my Kate Storey publisher is Avon HarperCollins.
Okay.
My family drama publisher is Boldwood Books.
Okay.
They're an independent digital publisher. And my Naomi Williams thrillers are with Headline, who are part of Hachette.
Hachette. Okay, wonderful. So now that you're established, I would assume that you don't have any problems, pitching new books to any of these publishers, right? Are they ready for the next one?
They they're they're very open. Yeah, I'm very fortunate. I think so far the whole fast and clean thing makes it, and I try not to be an idiot. I try to be compliant and say yes and not make a fuss. And um, so far, I feel like I've worked with every editor in London, quite frankly, because editors obviously move up the ranks as they go, and so one editor will work with somebody here, and then they appear at another editor somewhere else, at another publishing house. So I do feel like at some stage I will have worked with every editor in London, and hopefully so far I haven't let any of them down. So yeah, I think that I've been very fortunate that they're happy to keep working with me. So and my agent is wonderful. She will, if I give her an idea and she doesn't think it's going to work, she will gently tell me that maybe we should try a different angle. So nothing goes to an editor until it's been through my agent first.
Okay. Okay. And now do you go on tour at all?
I haven't been on tour.
You haven't?
No, I
That's
would quite like to, although I don't know when that would be.
mhm,
But no,
mhm.
I haven't. But I do like doing events at bookshops and libraries and things. So that would be
Okay, so
something
you
to
do
do.
that.
I do, and I've done a couple of festival panels as well. That's always great fun.
Mhm.
So yes, I do. I do go about and talk about books.
That's fantastic. Okay. That's your fort, as
I
they
like
say.
doing that. Yes.
Um, tell us, this is my fun question. What does an ideal day look like to you as a writer?
Ooh, I'm quite weird because I'm very sociable for a writer. Lots of writers are introverts. That's not me.
Mm.
So an ideal day would be I would get up and go straight into my office, and then I would what I call put some lipstick on yesterday's words. So the 2,000 words that I wrote yesterday, I will always go back and polish that before I go on to my next 2,000 words, because that way I'm completely in the story. I'd probably break at some point to go and do reformer Pilates up the road. Then, because neck, shoulders wrecked by being at a keyboard this long.
Yes.
Then I would do my next 2,000 words, and then I'd go up to London to see friends, have a book launch or dinner or something like that. And that would be a perfect day. And some reading. There'd be some reading as well. Ooh,
Right.
reading.
Oh, how could we
Okay.
miss that topic? Yes. Do you I'm just curious too about what authors read. Um, what
Uh,
are tell me about what you like to read and some of your favorite authors.
Okay, so ju what I read is proofs. So I read
Oh,
early copies of other people's books, to quote, because I write in 3 genres. So I get proofs in 3 genres. So my reading, my actual physical reading, is generally somebody's book um, for an endorsement, because I like to support other people as I've been supported myself. So I do try and do that as much as humanly possible. The one that I am reading at the moment is an absolute treat. It is The Violin Maker's Secret. Is it? Oh gosh, it's Evie Woods anyway, who wrote The
oh,
Lost Bookshop. Absolutely wonderful. It's gorgeous. So that's a real treat.
wow.
Um, I so anything outside of proofs I tend to listen to, because then I can do that whilst I'm exercising or cooking or doing, random household stuff or driving. So
Mhm.
I tend to listen to a lot, and I listen to a lot of thrillers.
Mm.
So what did I listen to recently? LV Matthews, um, The Twins is a really, really good one.
Mm.
And GD Wright's After the Storm is fantastic. So yes, those are a couple of thrillers that
Ooh,
I've listened to recently.
I'm gonna have to keep my eye out for those. I love thrillers as well.
I love thrillers. I love a good
Um, well, let's maybe close with we talked about the Last Page Cafe coming out in March, but what else are you working on? What's cooking, as they say?
Right. So the next Lisa Timoney family drama is Our Children's Lies. And that is about two mothers who are very best friends, but something happens with their children that uh, causes a rift, and we don't know who to believe. And so that
Mm,
is a family drama,
mm,
and that's out on the 7th of January.
okay.
Then The Last Page Cafe is the next Kate Storey book. Can you see me thinking, oh, what's that? So that is out in March. And then we have The Eyewitness, which is a Naomi Williams thriller. And that is about an ophthalmologist who is dealing with a patient whose eyes clamp shut for 2 days on and 2 days off. and she's trying to find out why that might be. And whilst that is happening, they both begin to feel like they are being watched.
Oof.
So those are my next 3 books in the 3 names.
Wow.
And they're all out in the first half of next year.
Oh, that's fantastic. I know our BookBrowse members will be looking for those. You mentioned earlier in the interview there's a really dark one. Is that?
That is The Woman in Ward 9.
Okay.
Yes. And that's where Laura is found covered in someone else's blood, and she has no idea whose it is and what's happened. And she's a psychologist, so we've got 2 psychologists working together. Working together. One is the patient, and the other psychologist is brought in to work on her and work out what's exactly happened.
Wow. Well, we can't wait. We can't wait to see what else Kate Storey and Naomi Williams and Lisa
Timoney, all these people, very busy people.
Well, Kate, thank you so much for joining us here on this BookBrowse interview. We're so just thrilled to have you come on, and we're excited to talk about the Forgotten Book Club, the Last Page Cafe.
Sorry, I wondered if you wanted to see. This is the UK cover for the.
Oh yes, please do, because I don't have it. Yes, I don't have a.
So that's different. You've got a green one with a cat on the front, but that's the UK one. I thought you might like to see that one.
I would love to see that, and I'd love to know your opinion. There's always the debate in the publishing in the book world. Who has the better covers, the UK or America? And I always think the UK.
Refuse to answer that question.
She's not going to answer it, ladies and gentlemen.
Answer it. So I am just very happy that they are out. In fact, the next one I think will have the same cover for both.
Oh,
the US and the UK.
Okay. Well, that would be lovely for once. I would love to see a cover that is the same in the UK and the US.
I think this one is.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Kate, for joining us. Wishing you the best of success in your future works. And
thank you so much, Peggy. It's been lovely to talk to you.
It's been lovely too. Now, let's get back out to the disco.
Hey.